When you look at how most people handle their finances, it looks like pure chaos. But if you look at how the truly wealthy manage their money, that chaos snaps into a rigid, highly predictable grid. Many people spend years chasing explosive cryptocurrency gains or obsessing over daily stock market trends. The truly successful rely on a system that is boring, straightforward, and runs almost entirely on autopilot. This system is the 15-65-20 rule. By the end of this video, you will have a personalized wealth blueprint fully mapped out to use in your own life. To complete this tutorial right now, you need three things: a calculator, your exact monthly take-home pay, and a list of your fixed monthly bills. A high salary provides the raw material for wealth, but the specific framework you build today determines whether those dollars actually stay in your possession. Step 1 is establishing your mathematical boundaries. Take your monthly take-home pay and multiply it by three separate numbers: 0.15, 0.65, and 0.20. For a standard monthly income of $4,000, the breakdown looks like this. Multiplying by 0.15 gives us a $600 bucket. Multiplying by 0.65 gives us a $2,600 bucket. And multiplying by 0.20 results in a final bucket of $800. Write your specific numbers down right now. These are the absolute, non-negotiable boundaries for every dollar that hits your account moving forward. Anchoring your budget to these hard percentages eliminates emotional decision-making. The math handles the planning for you. The first bucket is your 15%. This money exists for two reasons: creating your financial safety net and funding your long-term, tax-advantaged investment accounts. If your employer offers a 401k match, that is a guaranteed 100% return on your investment. Contributing just enough to capture it is a priority. Otherwise, you are essentially finding a $20 bill on the sidewalk and leaving half of it behind. Once that money is in place, compound interest becomes the primary engine for growth. In this system, time is the most critical variable you control. Sarah invests $10,000 at age 30, then stops. James starts at 40, contributing $20,000 over a decade. Though investing half as much, Sarah ends with more. Her extra 10 years of compounding grow that initial $10,000 to over $32,000. To achieve these results, avoid picking individual stocks. Instead, use this money to buy passive, low-fee index funds that track the overall market. Giving small amounts of money a longer runway to compound is a more effective strategy than trying to contribute massive amounts later in life. The 65% bucket is the absolute limit for your fundamental necessities. This covers housing, transportation, basic groceries, and utilities. You must strictly categorize what qualifies as a need. Shelter and basic food go here. Streaming services, gym memberships, and takeout meals belong in your separate fund bucket. Without this cap, you risk lifestyle inflation. As your salary increases, your baseline expenses expand to consume that extra money, leaving your financial situation unchanged. You can use these constraints to fuel your growth. Swapping a $700 new car payment for a $300 used car payment allows $400 a month to be redirected into your investment bucket. Maintaining these fixed percentages as your income grows is your primary defense against the natural tendency for expenses to drift upward. The final 20% bucket is your permission to enjoy your life. This is money set aside specifically for entertainment, hobbies, and spontaneous purchases. Attempting to save every penny usually leads to burnout. You end up in a cycle of extreme deprivation followed by massive spending binges. This 20% allocation makes your wealth-building plan sustainable. The rule for this bucket is absolute. Once the 20% is spent for the month, you cannot borrow from the other categories for more fun. In many high-cost areas, basic essentials might already consume 90% of your income. In those cases, implementing a 65% cap immediately isn't possible. If you are stretched thin, start with a 5-85-10 breakdown today. As your income increases, use the sliding scale to move toward the 15-65-20 targets. Developing the habit of living within intentional, automated boundaries is more important than achieving the perfect percentages on day one. This completed framework handles your emergencies, harnesses long-term compounding, and schedules your entertainment within a protected system. When you automate these transfers, Your financial life moves into a mechanical rhythm that works while you sleep. Take your first step right now. Log into your HR portal today to secure your employer match and set up your initial percentage transfers before your next paycheck arrives. Automating these boundaries separates the wealthy from everyone else. This discipline secures your financial future far more reliably than any individual stock tip ever could.
The 15-65-20 rule gives you the system, but most people quit before they see the payoff because early progress looks painfully slow. Here's what actually happens if you stick with it for 30 years. Most of us are taught a very simple equation for building wealth. Every dollar you save gets you exactly $1 closer to your goal.
Most of us are taught a very simple equation for building wealth. Every dollar you save gets you exactly $1 closer to your goal. Save $10,000, you are $10,000 closer. This diagram shows a standard linear progress bar, mapping a path to $1 million. When people hit that first $100,000, they look at the remaining line and assume they are exactly 10% of the way to their ultimate target. This linear projection makes the journey appear like a relentless 30-year grind. When the path to the finish line looks this slow, the motivation to stay consistent often evaporates long before the growth curve has a chance to turn. Wealth building defies this linear intuition because it follows an exponential curve. Think of a massive boulder resting at the top of a peak. Getting it moving is brutal, exhausting work, but once it starts rolling down a steep slope, it gathers its own physical momentum, accelerating entirely on its own. Grasping the transition from manual labor to exponential growth provides the clarity needed to stick with a financial plan that most people abandon too early. A typical 30-year investment journey relies on specific baseline variables. We are going to invest exactly $500 a month and assume a conservative 7% annual return. This breakdown shows exactly where the money comes from as you grind toward that first milestone. It takes roughly 7 years and 9 months of consistent monthly contributions to reach $100,000. In this early phase, you are doing the heavy lifting. About $46,000 comes directly from your own pocket, while $54,000 is generated by interest. This is the foundational stage of compound interest, the phenomenon Albert Einstein supposedly called a mathematical wonder. The returns your money earns are just beginning to generate their own returns. This graph plots time against total wealth, and it reveals our first major shift. It took nearly 8 years to scrape together that first $100,000, but doubling that amount to reach $200,000 takes only 5 additional years. You hit it by year 13. The initial push to 6 figures requires more effort and discipline than any other part of the journey. Once you pass it, the burden of labor begins to shift from your own savings to the mathematics. This chart tracks the ratio of effort as we move further into the timeline. By year 18, you hit $400,000, and the dynamic flips. Nearly 3/4 of your total wealth is now generated purely by compound growth. 4 years later, at year 22, the trend line crosses our second major milestone, $650,000. At an 8% return, this balance projects a passive income yield of roughly $52,000 every year. Consider how that $52,000 compares to the median U.S. household income, which sits right around $78,000. Reaching this level means your investments are generating a significant portion of a household salary without you having to trade your time to an employer. This threshold changes your relationship with financial security. Basic threats that previously caused panic, like an unexpected illness or a sudden layoff, become inconveniences rather than catastrophes. With basic expenses largely supported by passive yield, your risk tolerance expands. This safety net allows for entrepreneurial leaps or career changes that would be impossible if you were living paycheck to paycheck. By year 29, the portfolio crosses the $1 million mark. Seeing 7 figures on a screen validates decades of consistent behavior, proving that a regular salary combined with discipline can outpace traditional saving methods. A $1 million balance initiates a state of escape velocity. At this scale, the internal growth of the portfolio starts to dictate your net worth more than any external contribution could. This bar chart shows how the time required to earn each subsequent million progressively shrinks. To jump from 1 million to 1.5 million, your portfolio only needs 50% growth. Because the base is so large, These leaps require exponentially less time than that first climb to six figures. Even the fear of market crashes loses its sting. When you invest consistently over decades, a market downturn allows your monthly contributions to buy more shares at a discount. When the recovery eventually happens, those extra shares create a much steeper spike in your total wealth. At this stage, wealth compounding is the dominant force. Maintaining your position requires significantly less effort than the initial struggle to build the foundation. You do not need extreme frugality or a massive inheritance to achieve these results. The entire projection is built on the accessible baseline of $500 a month. The most difficult part of the entire 30-year journey is staying the course during the first decade, when the growth feels negligible. Every spending choice carries an opportunity cost. Exponential math means that a $200 impulse purchase today is effectively a trade, where you give up thousands of dollars in future capital for a single evening of entertainment. Ultimately, capital is a mechanism that buys back your time. It is the only tool that gives you the freedom to decline work that doesn't serve you and design your life entirely on your own terms.